familia. Huepa, yo soy boricua, para que tú lo sepas. I feel so humbled and overjoyed to be standing here today. I first attended this conference in 2002 when I was a high school teacher, and Dr. Marrero Ortiz, a SACNAS K-12 Distinguished Educator honoree, invited me to attend. Since then, my life has been filled with so many wonderful SACNistas who have served as mentors, friends, and colleagues. Mari, Yara, Kermin, Monica, Dr. Wanda Peña, and so many others. You know who you are. Gracias, thank you. I would like to share my journey from the lab bench to planet Mars and my experiences with reinvention. The choices I have made over the course of my career have been at times deliberate, other times necessary, but mostly it has been a process of jumping into the different career opportunities that I have arisen, even when I was not sure I could do them at the time. I am currently a research scientist at the US Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and as part of my job, let me see, I have something for you here. I make a lot of these every single day, millions of these. However, sadly, I cannot bring the money home. But I can say that the best part of my job is that I get to see the product that I help to make everywhere I go. This job requires a multidisciplinary approach to problem solving at the intersection of science, engineering, manufacturing, art, design, and human factors. As a scientist, I am helping protect US economy by developing the security features that the public will use to authenticate the notes. These technologies should be extremely difficult to simulate, but very easy to use by the public during a regular cash transaction. So I am keeping this one. This one is real. Certainly, this job is not related to space exploration, who is my lifelong passion, but it requires looking for out-of-this-world ideas to solve a down-to-earth problem. But what does making money and Mars have in common? When I reflect about the elements that bring coherence to my story, to the winding road that brought me here today, I realize that I have been driven by four things: a tenacious determination to not be complacent, a healthy obsession for exploring the unknowns, a heightened sense of urgency to make an impact everywhere I am, and my commitment to make my people and my family proud. So this is me. I am an island girl. I was born and raised on the southern part of the island, in a beautiful coastal town with luscious green mountains and beaches, and a beautiful and clear night sky that ignited my passion for the world around me. Growing up, I was fascinated by documentaries of the first man on the moon, and even though my parents could not afford to send me to space camp, they found every opportunity to instill in me that passion for science, that interest for science. Whether it was the night that my father woke me up in the middle of the night to go and gaze at the stars, or that day that my mother and I spent at the beach playing with a magnet to pull out the magnetite out of the sand, those experiences spark in me the curiosity to explore the universe, both under the blue sky and above it. When it was time to start college, because this little girl grew up and then it was time to make adult decisions, I like science, but I like so many other things, so I was a little uncertain about what I should study. After switching engineering majors a couple of times, I eventually decided to pursue a major in chemistry, thanks to a wonderful professor and mentor. Professor Padilla was so enthusiastic and savvy, explaining complex concepts, that I just fell in love with chemistry. However, as I continued taking more advanced courses, I became disappointed by the lack of motivation my classmates and I experienced at times for certain topics that seemed to be unrelatable. So it occurred to me that perhaps what I wanted to do in life was to revolutionize the way science was taught. So I signed up for a class in educational psychology, and I got hooked on science education. I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in chemistry, along with a teaching certification, and landed my first job as a chemistry teacher in my hometown of Arroyo. Yeah, Arroyo. Okay. And I truly enjoyed my teaching job, and I was really good at it. But it was a temporary position, and jobs were scarce at the time. So I had to reinvent myself and find other options. Fortunately, the dream of becoming a scientist and those memories of nights spent staring at the stars were still lingering in my head. By the end of the school year, I applied for a summer research internship for teachers and got selected to spend that summer working on nanotechnology at Stanford University. And that was a very huge deal for me because I was not fluent in English. And I never thought that I would be able to work at one of the top research institutions in the country. But I was able to do it, and that experience empowered me and changed things forever. After that summer, I returned to Puerto Rico and started looking for opportunities to do nanoscience on the island. And after knocking on doors, I joined the laboratory of Dr. Carlos Cabrera at the NASA's University Research Center for Advanced Nanoscale Materials. And in his lab, I learned about electrochemistry and DNA sensors for space exploration applications. That project was a perfect fit for me, as it combined my interest in nanotechnology and space. However, I knew that I needed to become proficient in English in order to succeed later in my career and to increase my chances to become an astronaut someday. That was the main reason I decided to leave that lab and to continue studies on the US mainland. But I will ever be grateful to Dr. Cabrera for guiding my first steps as a researcher and opening doors for me. So I went to Cornell, and I can tell you that that first semester in grad school was extremely hard for me, believe me. When I look back, I cannot comprehend how I was able to succeed in my coursework when I could only understand 20% of the lectures due to the language barrier. All that while having to adjust to the new culture, the extreme cold weather of Ithaca, New York, and the reality of being far away from family and friends. But hard work and determination always pay off, always. I once heard that the technological challenges of this century would require professionals with expertise in more than one field and the ability to apply knowledge to new situations. If I was not going to become an astronaut, I wanted to become a scientist solving big problems. Given that I had taken lots of graduate courses in chemistry back in Puerto Rico, I was able to convince my Cornell professors that I wanted to take courses in other departments and do multidisciplinary research. So I joined this lab where I learned about material science and microbiology, food science, and nanotechnology. So this slide summarizes my PhD research work, where I investigated the use of proteins that are found in many bacteria species, and these proteins serve as crystals or scaffolds to arrange nanomaterials such as nanoparticles and nanowires in very specific configurations. And this type of nanomaterial arrays may find applications in electronics and lithium-ion batteries. I still remember when I got the first set of positive results, being the first person in the entire world to have a first look at discovery is one of the best feelings that you will experience in your career as a scientist. During the last year of my PhD, my classmates and I started applying for jobs, and many of us were not even getting a response from the hiring agencies. The great economic recession was at its peak, and the job market was being hit. So when a colleague of mine who had just founded a nanotech startup invited me to join this company, I did not hesitate, and I said, yes, sure, let's do it. So during my time at the company, I designed bio-inspired coatings, coatings inspired in nature, for water and oil-repelling fabrics, nanofibers for antimicrobial wound dressings, and nanomaterials for sensors. And working in that entrepreneurial environment was a great beginning in my career. My personal growth was exponential, and I began developing business expertise, writing proposals, and drafting patent applications. This experience inspired me to venture into edupreneurship, education and entrepreneurship, which allowed me to reconnect to my endless passion for education. While doing independent work for another company, I collaborated with nonprofit organizations such as Ciencia Puerto Rico, and engaged in numerous science education and public outreach activities, and I still do to this day. So this is one of my most recent projects that involve a team of scientists, engineers, makers, and high school students in Puerto Rico who designed a miniaturized satellite called a CubeSat that flew this summer in Perlan 2, a glider that uses mountain waves to fly to the edge of space. The team of students, if you are wondering what they are doing with this CubeSat, they are actually looking for alien life in the extreme environments of the stratosphere. So the flexibility of freelancing back in those days allowed me to pursue one of my wildest dreams yet to be reached. In 2012, I applied to the NASA astronaut candidate program and made it into its highly qualified pool of applicants. And although I was not selected as a finalist, I lived my dream here on Earth when I was chosen to participate in the Hawaii Space Exploration Analog and Simulation Program, or HI-SEAS, a 4-month Mars analog mission funded by NASA. I lived and worked like an astronaut for 4 months in a geodesic dome located on the Mauna Loa volcano in Hawaii. This is one of few Mars-like places here on Earth where the technologies and the risks associated to sending humans to the red planet are being currently evaluated. For 120 days, the crew lived and worked in confinement in this small habitat in the barren lava fields, having only 4 minutes of shower time every other week, eating freeze-dried foods, and only stepping outside wearing simulated spacesuits. We had to fill lots of daily questionnaires and do research like astronauts will do on a future mission on the red planet. But most noteworthy, given the time delay between Mars and Earth, real-time communication was restricted, meaning no Skype, chat, or phone conversations with family and friends for 4 months. Does this sound terrible? Well, it was not as bad as you might think. I actually loved living and working on Mars. Some people have told me that they will never sacrifice their personal space by living with 5 strangers for 4 months in such a tiny space. But curiously, the habitat never felt small to me. Pseudo-Mars felt much like Puerto Rico, where personal space is not important and lives revolve around community. Just like that. So the day the mission ended, it was the first time in 4 months that we would be interacting with other humans, eating fresh foods and going outside without a spacesuit. So when I stepped outside the habitat, I had a hypersensory experience that I will never forget. The pineapple smell was so strong and sweet. I could even smell the rocks. My visual perception was also different. For the first time in 4 months, after 4 months, I was seeing my surroundings without the helmet visor and the landscape, even the wrinkles under the eyes of people. Everything looked like a high-definition movie in a flat screen. But even though this sensory experience lasted just a couple of minutes, even though that, it gave me a fresh perspective on my life here on Earth. On Mars, there was no place for second thoughts or self-doubt. Time was a precious resource, and urgency was a matter of survival. In the tiny little hub, we had total control over life support systems and understood the relevance of our role for mission success. However, as we move to a much larger habitat, such as our island home in the universe, Earth, it's easy to lose perspective of our role in the grand scheme of things. So here are some lessons I learned from Mars that also apply to our lives and careers here on Earth. First, and this is my Martian's guide to life on Earth. First, get uncomfortable. Life on Mars can be uncomfortable and filled with unexpected scenarios, but it's also an adventure and is an opportunity to do something for the first time. The more you expose yourself to uncomfortable situations, the more comfortable you will feel with being uncomfortable. It increases your resilience, helps us with creativity, and boosts our confidence in our ability to do bold things. Second, use visualization to achieve any goal you can imagine. Imagine the goal, and then pursue it. Go for it. And never think that a dream is too big to be reached. Third, bring out the Martian within you. Yes, bring your uniqueness to the table. I don't have a doubt that my biculturalism, my Hispanic values of interdependence help me live the good life on Mars. And lastly, keep adding chapters to your story. Would you like to partake in an exciting project or role outside your area of expertise? Don't be afraid of reinvention. Say yes to the new opportunities, projects, and ventures that may come your way. And remember, the path doesn't need to be, and most likely will not be linear. And don't be afraid of adding chapters of adversity. Currently, my people of Puerto Rico and so many brothers and sisters in Latin America and US mainland are living their Mars on Earth. Hurricane Maria will become a chapter in the story of many SACNistas on the island. But I am certain that this hurricane will be a chapter of how they overcame the adversity during this difficult time. I don't know what your Mars may look like. Your future Mars may be losing your job or not getting tenure, having to repeat a class, or unexpected health and family issues. But let's choose to be defiant in the face of adversity. Last time I talked on the phone with my mom, who lives in Puerto Rico, she told me that the palm trees in my hometown of Arroyo have started to straighten up, solitas, by themselves, like a faithful reflection of the resilience of our people. Let's share our stories in the next 3 days. Let's lift each other up and encourage and learn from each other. I am so proud of my people and this community of SACNAS, and I am glad I can also make my people proud. So let's enjoy the time together, and thank you. Thank you very much.